soundbite that they did.
Yeah, it was good.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. We're so excited that this is working. Welcome to today's Facebook Live chat, and I will explain why we're excited that it's working. Today, we're talking all things foot health. I am Renza from Diabetes Australia, and I'm very excited because last week we tried to run this chat, and unfortunately, the technology wasn't behaving itself, and we were sabotaged. But we're here today, and welcome, and we're thrilled to be joined by lots of people, hopefully. We're talking all things foot health, and today I'm joined by Georgina Frank, or Georgie, who is a podiatrist. Georgie, tell us about yourself.
So I've been a podiatrist for about 20 years. I work in New South Wales and I work in Sydney, so I'm at the major hospitals like RPA and Concord. Yep. I've worked in high-risk foot, so I look after people mainly with diabetes who have had foot problems, but we look after people before they get foot problems.
Great, wonderful, and that's what we like to hear, is about what happens beforehand, and we're going to talk about reducing risk. So let's jump straight into it, but I will just say before we start, hello to everybody who's watching. Please feel free to ask any questions. You just need to add the questions in the comment section on Facebook. If you've got a question that you'd like to ask but you don't really want it to be out in public, you can just send us a direct message at Diabetes Australia and we will see that. We won't mention names, but we're happy to answer any questions to do with foot health. These sessions work best when they're interactive. So the more questions that we have, the more that this is all about you. So please do feel free to ask. Okay, so let's get started. And I should also say, of course, that this is not intended to be medical advice. If you hear anything today that you think, this is really interesting, I'm going to do that, please have a chat with your healthcare professional first. That's a very important thing for us to mention, that we always do mention. But let's start with this really simple question, Georgie. I promise there won't be any tricky questions today. How often should somebody living with diabetes, whether it be type 1, type 2, gestational, all the different sorts of diabetes, and if there are differences in there, how often should we be getting our feet checked?
Okay, so for most people living with diabetes, so mainly people with type 1 or type 2, you want to be checked at least every year, so as part of your annual cycle of care. However, as part of your annual cycle of care, they're trying to work out what your risk of developing foot problems is. So they're checking to see if your blood flow is good or that your feeling's good. Now, depending on what those results show, it'll show whether you're at very low risk, moderate risk, or high risk. And depending on what risk you are, will decide how often you get your feet checked.
Okay, good. Well, that's very useful. It's quite general though. So let's go back a step. What does a foot check involve? So you're talking about different things that are being looked for. How do each of those things happen?
Okay, so you've got to remember, a foot check doesn't hurt. Biggest thing.
Yep.
So you've got to take off your shoes and socks or stockings. And first step is just have your healthcare team, usually your GP or your practice nurse. So normally people get it done regardless if they see a podiatrist. So this is GP, your centre of your care. Will take shoes and socks off and just look at your feet. So they're going to be looking for to see if you've got any wounds, whether you've got hard skin, whether you've got tinea, any odd little bits and pieces on your feet. And then they're going to test. So the tests that they do are checking for your blood flow, so how the blood gets to your feet, and they're going to test for your sensation, so whether your feeling is working. And then the last thing is they're going to ask you lots of questions. So they're going to ask you about your diabetes, whether you've had operations in your feet to improve your blood flow, whether you've got funny sensations in your feet, so numbness and tingling. Sure. And they're going to ask you, do you see a podiatrist? You know, and so all of these questions all come together to give us a good picture of what those things are.
Yep. Okay. Now you said it doesn't hurt. Does it tickle? Because like some people are very, very, very ticklish. In fact, I've spoken with people who have said that they're quite anxious about having a foot check because they are so ticklish. They're afraid that they're going to kick their doctor or podiatrist or the diabetes educator, whoever it is who's doing the check. They're worried they're going to sort of have a reflex reaction and hurt them.
We are very good at, we have great reactions now. Like, I am as quick as anything. So we're also pretty good. But look, the biggest thing is, so the thing that you're talking about, the tickling particularly, so we want to check to see whether you've got any nerve damage. So diabetes, if you've got high, usually blood glucose levels over a long period of time, can affect how the nerves communicate in your body. So if I hurt my finger, a little message goes all the way up to my brain that says, oh. Now with diabetes, that signal is interrupted. So your doctor will use something, or your nurse, like this.
Yep.
It's a bit of plastic.
It's not a needle.
See how it just bends?
In case anybody
No, not a needle.
Not a needle. Yep.
Nice and light. Well, it's been on a foot, shouldn't do that. So, podiatrist. But look, very light. So we'll get you to shut your eyes and we check the bottom of your feet to see if you can feel it. Very simple. They also sometimes use a tuning fork to check what the vibration is.
Yep.
And we sometimes just use our finger. So there are ways to do that. The other big test that we use is feeling for the blood flow. So blood flow is how your arteries, so they're the vessels that take the blood from your heart all the way to your feet and deliver nutrients. Now, if you smoke or you have diabetes, that gets blocked and you just don't heal very well. So if you get a small wound, you might not heal. So similar to the pulse in your arm, we do 2 pulses in your feet.
Right.
And that's all I'm doing. I'm just trying to feel that. And it's brilliant. So once I've got those 2 things, I start putting it together with other things like, do you have kidney disease that you're on dialysis for, or have diabetes? Have you had a wound before that's taken a long time to heal? And all those things come together to sort of give me an idea of how much of a risk you might be.
Okay. All right. These are all really important things to consider. And I think, so much of this comes back to having people with diabetes know what we're in for. Let's get our expectations all sorted and know and prepare for all of that. Now, what should I do as a person with diabetes? What should I do before I go and have a foot check? So my question, I have a specific question here. Should I take off the nail polish on my toenails?
So yes. And mainly because it just makes it clearer to see. So if you've got a fungal infection, or sometimes you can have a wound under there that you can't see, and if your feeling isn't quite right, I won't be able to tell as well. So making sure that the other thing is not being too worried about your feet. And I think that's the biggest thing. So you said you're ticklish. I've got a lot of people who just don't like feet.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are embarrassed. I mean, there's a whole show on television at the moment on one of the cable networks, and they won't even show the pictures of podiatry because people are so embarrassed.
Wow. Okay.
So there is a little bit of a stigma, but you got to remember, doctors in particular look at everything.
Yeah.
And feet are part of your body.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
And an important part at that. So, yeah. But I think that's really important that we talk about this. It's really super important to normalise conversations about any sort of health check that people are a little bit nervous about or a bit embarrassed about. It's just like, you wouldn't think twice if you had to go and get your arm checked. It's exactly the same. So, yeah. All right. We have a question. A question's come in that says, I have type 2 diabetes and I get a numbness on the sole, but it only happens after I run. Could this relate to diabetes, or what do you think that might, what could these sorts of things be?
Look, I think it's definitely worth looking at because it can be diabetes, right? So I won't say no, and that's why you want to get checked. But the big thing a big part of what we're looking at is whether you've got numbness because of diabetes. But then that'll be part of your foot check, but your doctor or your nurse might then do some extra tests because numbness, and they're called neuropathies, can be caused by a few things. So for instance, I used to run, but I hurt my back. So now when I run, my 5th toe gets really numb. Oh. And that's because I've got a bit of a nerve compression. So I don't run anymore for that reason. I find it really annoying, but it can be lots of different reasons. So it is worth looking at, because if it is diabetes related, well, then there might be things that you could do to help your diabetes.
Yeah.
But you've got to know that it's not really because you've done anything wrong. It's just that we want to catch things before anything really happens.
Yeah, and I think we're going to make sure that we say that a couple more times actually today, that this isn't about, blaming and shaming people if something happens or if they have got a foot ulcer or a blister or whatever. Awesome work for getting things checked out. That's the really important. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what it is that that you, or that a GP, you sort of touched on it, but what are some of the specific things? So what happens if I go to the GP and they check, they're doing a foot check and they see a blister? Where do we go from there?
Okay, so you might have heard that I said right at the beginning, people are either very low risk, risk, moderate risk, and high risk. So if you're low risk, very low risk, you don't have any major problems. So you want to look after your blister by just cleaning it, keeping an eye on it. If it's fine, if there's no infection and it tends to heal up within 24 hours to a week, no treatment. Now, when you start having problems like your feeling's not too good or the blood flow's not too good, that's when we start being a little bit more intensive. So your doctor might get you back quite quickly to have a look. And if it's not healing within or getting better within a minimum, usually about 2 to 4 weeks, then they might refer you to a high-risk foot clinic, and that's a clinic that looks after foot problems.
Yeah.
So, but another really important thing is why you've gotten the blister.
Yes.
So you got to look at those things. So it's often shoes.
Yeah.
So shoes are mega important. They're the best evidence is that's how you protect your feet from getting wounds or problems, but they're also one of the reasons you get problems. So it's a big catch-22. So you've got to wear them in really slowly, just like everyone. And high heel wearers will know you'll get a blister and you'll not wear that shoe for a little while you've got feeling. Now, if you don't have feeling, people will wear it and it'll get worse. So it's just becoming really good at your first aid.
Yeah.
And just knowing where you sit. And remember, any concerns, you call your healthcare professional. It's knowing the number or the person to see.
Okay, so can we just, and this isn't just for me, even though I am a high heel wearer, but again, this is one of the questions that people used to ask when I was working at Diabetes Victoria, and we would run information sessions, and when we would have a podiatrist speak, without fail, one of the first questions would be, does this mean I can't wear high heels anymore? Now, I have a very nice high heel collection, and it is literally the first question that I ask my podiatrist when I have a checkup. Do I have to stop wearing high heels yet? I love her because she hasn't said yes as yet. So what do we say to people? You know, everybody has a certain style of shoe that they love to wear, and sometimes perhaps they're not the most practical, but they look gorgeous. What do we say?
I always ask, well, first question, do you have diabetes? But then the next question is, do you have problems with your circulation? Do you have problems with your sensation? So have you been told that you've got peripheral neuropathy or you've got peripheral arterial disease, or have you had an amputation really intense? If you don't have any of those things, you listen to your feet. If they're sore, you don't wear them. Now, from a podiatrist point of view, we don't like the look of the foot in it because it's under strain, but that's not really a reason to stop using it, except if you're in pain. So I don't agree with, I do think people are a little bit, I don't want to use the word mad, but they'll wear painful shoes. But that's only because I can't anymore because I've gotten a bit older. So I got beautiful shoes that just sit there and look gorgeous.
Put them on a shelf. They look lovely on a shelf.
Yep.
They can become an art installation. I guess just extending from this, we're heading into summer and people will be going to the beach. And I do remember I was diagnosed with type 1 nearly 23 years ago now. And I was told I must never, ever go barefoot again. And I just remember thinking, even at the beach, I can't walk on the sand without shoes. Now, what's your advice when it comes to that? Is it a bit the same? Does it depend on level of risk? When we're talking about little kids with diabetes, should they always be wearing flip-flops or thongs? What do we say?
No, and look, I think the biggest thing is it's always really personal. And I think no matter what your level is, it's always good. And this is for everyone with or without diabetes. It's always good to get used to looking at your feet.
Yes.
So a foot infection, so at my hospital, getting a cellulitis, which is a skin infection, affects lots of people, and it's one of the biggest things that it costs us a lot of money. Doesn't matter if you've got diabetes or not. So it's good to have good first aid. However, it's exactly the same thing. I will only tell my people, with my people with diabetes, if you've got neuropathy or you've got blood problems with your circulation, I want you to wear a surf bootie because burns become a problem. So so summer's always that time of the year where you walk on that concrete, you don't feel it. It's amazing. And it can be really devastating. Though the quicker you come in, the quicker it's sorted out. But if you don't have neuropathy or you don't have any blood flow issues, really, you can feel it. So you know not to stand on that concrete because it's really painful. So it's listening to your body, speak to your healthcare team. Okay. And that's really important because they'll be able to sort of tell you where you're at and give you a little bit more focused information. But most of the information now is really just for people that have a complication. So they know they've got lack of feeling.
Yeah. Now, you said it's really important for people to check their own feet, whether they have diabetes or not. But what should we be looking for? So, and how often should we be doing this? Is this like every morning when we get out of the shower, we should have a look at the bottom of our feet, the top? Where should we be looking? Between our toes? What's the advice for that?
Yeah. So one of my, a gentleman I've known for a very long time, he says you get used to what your foot looks like normal, you'll notice if there's something different. It's a really lovely phase. So we tend to recommend that you look at the same time every day. So
Okay.
for some people, it's when you're putting your sock on. And you're right, you're looking top, bottom, between the toes.
Yeah.
It gets harder as you get older.
Yes.
As your feet get further away and you can't quite reach them, or your eyes aren't quite doing what they should.
Yep.
Family, friends, everyone, and trying to destigmatize it. So I get grandkids. I find, especially when they're at that 4 or 5, when they're really annoying but gorgeous.
Yeah.
But getting family to look at your feet, it'll save a problem. Look, I think up to 85% of problems that occur with your feet can be healed if they come in early enough. So they don't need to get bad.
Yeah. And you know what? How often do we hear that message when it comes to diabetes-related complications is early treatment, early detection, early treatment, really good outcomes. So I think that that's, you know, the message that we do obviously want to send. But I think we also need to be really careful because some people still get diabetes complications, and a complication is not something that we should be blaming people for, and we should also not be looking at that as an end point. So if we've got, and I'm sure we will have people who are watching or who watch this later on who have developed diabetes related complications to do with their feet, what's the advice there? What do we say there to people?
Look, I tend to think the most important thing is try and think of family, friends, healthcare as a bit of a team, because it's that support network. And the majority of people won't get any problems at all. Will probably never have a problem. And if they do have a problem, it's really intensive. And I think that can influence yourself and other friends. So I think it's not really worrying about it. It's just knowing who you can go and see and who can support you and sort of get things rolling and just keeping an eye on things. And as I said, nipping things in the bud, dreadful at phrases, tends to be the right way. I'm not sure I answered that very well, but I don't think the anxiety from it, I think, can really put people off. So you hear all the horror stories. So many people come in, and the reason they haven't done anything is because they know someone, or they've had a family history or friend or story where something awful's happened, and so you don't want that to happen. But a lot of things have changed now, which is really good. We have
absolutely
good outcomes. And
I think that is always really positive, and it's always great to think about. But I think it's also really important that people who have developed some sort of complication, whatever it is, that they have support, that they're not stigmatized, that they're not judged, that they know that when they go to seek care, that it's a safe place. All of those things are really important. And it's, you know, things happen and people still deserve to be getting great care. Now I have a question. This person's had type 1 diabetes for 40 and a half years. I really hope someone's given them a tiara for that, because that's amazing. Now, she says that nerves and blood supply are fine in her feet, but she gets corns. She says, don't tell me to get well-fitting shoes. I totally get it. I know that. But it's harder than it looks. She still gets corns. The question, though, is how often should she be seeing a podiatrist about this?
Okay, so it's such a hard question, because I always say when it's painful, go and see them. And I'll keep, or before that, to try and keep them under control, because it's your individual, the way your body grows. So you're right, corns aren't just from shoes. Shoes can make it worse, but people get them between their toes, and it's just because the bony bits are so close and they rub.
What are corns?
So,
explain to me what's a corn? How does it happen? Why does it happen?
So you've got callus, which is flat, hard skin. Corn is when it's focal and the pressure's in a much smaller area. So they're between toes or right under joints or right at the base. Painful, unless you've got neuropathy, but they are painful. And they can be really hard to deal with. So cream can help, and especially the creams that have things like urea, because it actually can get into the skin. And look, I'm going to be a pain. I think you see the podiatrist as much as you need to, which can be hard. So, unfortunately, footwear will always be the naggy thing we can do, but also talk to the podiatrist about other little tips and tricks. So sometimes we can make little wedges that go between your toes sorry, I cut myself, little wedges between your toes that can, keep the toes apart. And, sometimes some padding, or sometimes an orthosis, not to improve the way you're walking, but to take pressure away from the area, can help. And we can put them in high heels and things like that, but everyone is different. And I think that's the biggest thing.
And I love that we're saying that, because I feel that sometimes we still get this message that there is a one size fits all for diabetes. For whatever bit about diabetes we're talking about. It's like, do this and this will work for everyone. And we know, oh my goodness, we know that that's not the case. So I'm loving the fact that you're talking about bespoke solutions. You know, it's going to be different for everyone. So it's wonderful.
Now, gestational diabetes. So sometimes ladies come in and only while they're pregnant because their feet have gone really flat.
Yeah.
And so they'll have a few problems, and we're just a little bit more worried because their blood glucose levels are a bit high, and we're just keeping an eye on them.
Yep. Okay.
So it's short term, but once it's done, you know, and then they live their lives.
Yep, with a baby. All right, now we've got a lovely comment from Colin who says, thank you for sharing your knowledge. You lovely, caring people. Oh, thank you. That's very nice. Now we have a question. Is getting very cold feet the start of neuropathy? Could that be, what can that be a sign of?
That one's always tricky. So cold feet can be a couple of things. So some people like me just have really cold feet. Mm-hmm. But other people, you can get quite cold feet because the blood's not getting down there properly. Yeah. So if you think the blood from your heart going all the way down is warm, it's beautiful. So it'll keep your feet warm. At the same time, it can also be neuropathy. So the nerves might not be responding properly, so they think you're cold, but you're not.
Oh, okay.
So you want to go and see someone because it's a full package. So some of the questions I'll ask are, if you walk 20 meters the end of the corridor, do you get pain in the back of your legs, your thighs, or your bottom? Mm-hmm. Or do you find that your feet go really white? Or do you have a lot of hair on your feet and now you don't? Or I'll be asking, do you have other feelings? So at night, do you get more tingling? Or do you find your feet get so painful you have to hang your feet off the edge of the bed? Another one which is going to annoy, I think, I find I always worry about this question too, but do you smoke? So smoking can cause the vessels to block off as well. Yes. So that's why you need to get that full package. And then in other people, it's just like me who just get cold hands, cold feet because they got a warm heart apparently. But
lovely. Yeah. Okay. And wear warm socks. So yeah. All right. Good. Thank you for all these questions that are coming in. Please do keep them coming. We've got Georgie here who is really happy to answer all of these questions. Now I have one. I want to talk about foot ulcers. Let's start by, what is a foot ulcer? What exactly is it?
Okay, we'll start really simply. Yep. Foot ulcer is an open wound that is becoming chronic. So it's been there for 2 weeks. It's either not doing anything, it's getting bigger, maybe a little bit deeper. Usually with diabetes, main reason for it is loss of protective sensation. So that peripheral neuropathy. So when the feeling is not right, and that problem with having a foot ulcer is it's a wound, gets deeper, you get infection. That's what tends to lead to having the big awful thing, amputation.
Okay.
So that's what a foot ulcer is.
Yep. Okay.
So yeah. Oh, another one, I think one of my patients called it a cavity. He's got, a crater. I've got a crater in my foot. And it does. It looks a bit like a crater. Lots of different ones. So they can be from lack of circulation, lack of feeling, or a mixture of both. Mm-hmm. And they all need to be treated a little bit differently. But the biggest thing is always to keep off your feet, which is really hard when they're on the bottom of your foot.
Of course. Absolutely.
And you live a life.
Yeah. So what is the treatment for one? If you've got to stay off your foot, what does that mean?
Okay, so normally if it's been going on for about 2 to 4 weeks and hasn't improved, your doctor or your nurse will send you to a multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary high-risk foot clinic. Yep. So you've got people like me, you've got a podiatrist, you've maybe got an endocrinologist, nurses, orthotists, vascular surgeons, so a whole kit and caboodle. And so what we want to do is we first want to work out why it's happening. Okay. So sometimes it's happening because, as I said, your blood flow is not there. If it's your blood flow, we will normally get you to see a vascular surgeon to improve your circulation, because then I step in. So the podiatrist will step in and we want to remove all the tissue that's not healing or the dead tissue to make it an acute wound. So when you've got these foot ulcers, especially with diabetes, there's a bit more of a breakdown of tissue than a build-up. Mm-hmm. And then you've got lots of other things that are all combining. So if your sugar levels start going a bit higher, blood glucose levels because you've got an infection, all of these things are going to slow down healing. So I will remove hard, dead skin around it. Sometimes the wound will look bigger. And we often find that people don't know they've got one because they can't feel, but also because it's hiding under that hard skin. Yeah, so your podiatrist might take off that hard skin and underneath there's a surprise, and it's usually a wound. Right. So we tend to get things a little bit slower that way because they hide. And so once I've taken off the hard skin, I then might put you in a total contact cast.
Right.
which is the same thing I use for a broken leg, or I might put you in a shoe that I put a whole lot of an orthoses in, and I put up to that much deflection. So I try and make a cutout so that your ulcer is not touching the ground.
Okay.
I'm trying to make it as much as though you're not walking on it, because ideally, if I was a nasty dictator, I'd tie you to bed and you would not be able to get up and your ulcer would heal really quickly.
Yep.
Don't tend to do that because it's not right.
Don't do that. Yeah.
Not right. But also people have lives.
Of course, yeah.
Like I've got a lovely gentleman at the moment who's got 3 kids.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
We've got jobs. So, yeah. Okay.
A lot of it's working together.
Of course. Now, we'll be probably going for about another 5-10 minutes. So if you've got a question and you've been thinking about asking it, now is the time to do that. And we have a question here about rocker bottom shoes. Do they affect circulation in your feet or legs? Please define what they are first. So what are rocker bottom shoes? They sound kind of...
I wish I had my picture.
Yeah.
Damn it. So a rock bottom shoe, we really like them. Podiatrists tend to really like them. So a rock bottom shoe is a shoe that, if you imagine that's a shoe, the front rocks off. So you would have seen, I think there are brands like, I can say brands, can't I?
Yeah,
so like the Hocker, I think Skechers did them for a little while, where we like them because the physics of them, they take away the pressure off the front of your foot.
Right.
So when you've got neuropathy, your toes start to claw and the bottom of the ball of your foot becomes quite prominent, and so do your toes. So if I've got a rocker shoe, it takes that pressure away and reduces some of the pressure that's going through. So it doesn't tend to help circulation as much, except I think the original advertising was it helps you walk really well. So it'll help you ambulate really nicely. And so you tend to get more exercise.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay. So the question though, so can they affect, and I don't know if they mean affect negatively or positively, but they can affect the circulation of your feet and legs?
No. So I think it'd be more positive because it makes life a little bit easier.
Right. Okay.
I might do a double check with some of my brains trust, but as far as I know, I think it's more just when you walk, you just walk a bit easier and a bit better.
Okay. If there's anything that we need to add to that, Georgie will come back and we'll add it to the chat in direct response to that question. So, okay, good. All right. So what should somebody do? So if somebody with diabetes notices that they've got a cut on their foot, so if they can, okay, let's go through it this way. Let's start with, I get a cut on my foot. I can feel it. I felt it when it happened. I can feel that it's there. What should I do? Should I see someone straight away? Should I look at it, keep an eye on it for a little bit, clean it? What should I be doing?
So you've got feeling, you've got good circulation, first aid.
Okay, yeah.
As with anything, first aid. In Australia, in capital cities in particular, great, wash it under warm running water, not hot or even cold running water, just wash it out. If you've got, it's been on gravel or something like that, you want to use, often they'll say, I like salt water, good old saline.
Yeah.
Clean it out, dress it with a dry dressing, just like this. Now, the time you've got to be worried, and this is with everyone, red, hot and swollen.
Okay.
You start noticing that that area is becoming red, you've got a bit of tracking. So if you notice the redness starting to come up, foot swelling, remember if you've got darker skin, it'll look darker. So don't base it all on red. And we often make that mistake. Don't always base it on pain, because the problem with having loss of protective sensation is you don't feel it go. So eyes are really important. So even though we do like to keep a dressing on for a little while, I usually take it off. I take my own off, usually the day after. It's a bit like if you get bitten or scratched by a cat or dog, you always want to be checking. So that's really the main thing. But you get red, hot and swollen, you go and see your GP really quickly.
Right away.
And if you can't see them and you're starting to feel unwell, you go to your emergency department, because infection we want to catch. Of
course. And if you've got diabetes and you're checking your glucose levels and you notice your levels starting to go up, that could also suggest infection. Go and get it checked out. I always think, I know that sometimes we feel, I don't want to seem like I'm a hypochondriac and going to the doctor for everything, but you know, doctors and health professionals would so much prefer to say, you're all good, you're fine, thank you for coming and getting it checked out. We're all now, you know, your mind's at ease, rather than you waiting and being, you know, not wanting to be seen as a difficult person or something like that.
Totally.
So go and get it checked out.
And telehealth's helping somewhat. Yes. So people are now sending us pictures, especially as you get a bit older, it is harder to come into, especially big hospitals or so those sorts of things. So I know the health professional, we're getting better at making life easier.
Okay, good.
Now we're very slow at it, but we are getting better at it.
So good things take time. Hey, can I ask you a question about sensor socks?
Oh, yeah.
Can we talk about that? Are these a thing? Is it a gimmick? Do they work? Can you explain what they are first? And
I'm assuming you're on the same ones that I'm thinking of. So these are the ones that are heat sensors?
Yes. So it's like
Right.
got a little sensor pad right down the bottom, like at the bottom of the sock. Is that right?
Yeah.
And there's an app on your phone and it yells at your phone if you're getting too hot or something. Is that right?
We're excited about it. So
Good.
the research is quite good. It's all in the US at the moment. So none of it's really easily available here.
Yep.
But it's mainly been shown to work. So if you've had a foot ulcer in the past, that tends to be where they've used it. If you've had a foot ulcer in the past, you wear the sock, or the other one they've got is a bath mat. You step on it every day. If it shows more than a 2-degree temperature difference, it's really likely you might have a foot ulcer, and you want to get it checked, or something's brewing. And that's the other thing. So, because you don't get it's not just foot ulcers. So people with diabetes can get Charcot foot, where it's very rare, but one foot will become really hot and swollen. There's usually no wound to suggest infection, but the bones can, they almost collapse. So it's like a big fracture, but because you can't feel it, it usually gets a bit worse. So we have to put you in a cast for a long time. But this might be our way of getting ahead of it. So it's quite new. Quite exciting. We're quite keen. In America, Veteran Affairs have got all their patients who are living with diabetes step on it, and it goes off to their healthcare professional every day. Yeah, it's
that's exciting stuff.
Bit exciting, yeah.
Good. Okay, we have a last question from Sarah, who says, I got type 2 diabetes early this year. I had a toe infection, which is fixed now. She was wondering, though, what are the infections to look out for in our toes? So is there anything specifically in our toes that we should be keeping an eye on?
They're usually very similar. So most of them tend to be it's a very similar bug. So it's either staph or a bug that doesn't use oxygen, because feet are great, but they can be a bit manky. Using really technical term. So look, most of the time is you want to keep an eye on it and catch it really quickly. And if it's an ingrown toenail, treat. If it doesn't go away, I tend to be really proactive in recommending that people have the bit of nail that keeps growing in removed permanently. So most podiatrists will do it. You do it as a day surgery. It's really quick and it's just local anesthetic. If it's other bits of the foot, once you've healed it, it's not really recurrent unless you've had an ulcer for a long time and it's gotten into the bone. And then we tend to get a bit more worried. But it's just keeping an eye on it, clean and dry between those toes. So a lot of bugs, tinea, it makes it all moist, warm weather's coming on, breaks down the skin, a bug will get in. And they're quick and they're annoying.
So can I just make sure that we also mention them, because I know that we're encouraged to make sure if we've got, for example, dry or cracked heels, that we use moisturiser, but not in between our toes, right? No.
Tinea, fungus, love it. So fungus, you put it in there and it's like you're making a luxury hotel. So not fun. Also, it doesn't feel great. So just make sure it's nice and dry. And speak to your team.
Dry between your toes, but do moisturise the bottom.
And look, the other thing is with tinea, it is really worth treating it. So, and there are lots of different treatments around depending on the type of tinea that you've got, because it's really, firstly contagious. So if you've got a young child in the house, they'll spread it very quickly, and it's not fun. But they can cause a lot of problems.
Okay. All right. Well, look, I think that we don't have any more questions, and I have asked you all of my questions, including high heel questions. So thank you very, very much for indulging and answering. Have you got any parting words that you wanted to share with everybody? I think I've really appreciated the fact that you are so not judgmental and that you are encouraging people just to get things checked out and normalising a part of our diabetes care that I know for some people they do find it a little bit uncomfortable. So thank you for being so open. But have you got any parting words of wisdom? I think this is the biggest thing. We show in Australia that about 50% of people with diabetes don't get their feet checked annually. It's really important, and it's worth nagging. I know it's awful nagging because you feel like you are that person, but
it's one of those things, most people with loss of protective sensation, we only find out once you've been checked or there's a problem.
Yeah.
Whereas if we catch it earlier, we can make a difference. So, yep, nag, get someone to have a look. And then, you know, most of the time it's absolutely nothing, like most things. But if it is something, you can catch it or do something. That's the main thing. That's
really great advice. Georgina, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you to everybody at home who watched. Thank you for the people who asked questions. Oh, we're thrilled. Keep an eye on the Diabetes Australia Facebook page for future Q&As. We usually run them every couple of weeks, sometimes every week. It just depends what's going on. We had hoped to do it last week because it was to tie in with Foot Health Week. Was that right? There was something last week that we had mentioned, but unfortunately, as I said, the technology didn't behave itself. But better late than never. Thank you for coming back again today. And so to everybody else, please do keep an eye out. This will remain on our Facebook page, so you can watch it again, or if somebody you know would benefit from having a look at this, please make sure that you send them the link and they can watch it at a later stage. But thank you so much. And our wonderful Emily, who does all of this and makes this happen behind the scenes, is going to stop us now, and we'll say goodbye.